جلسة وننتقل بعدها إلى عرض تقديمي بعنوان استعراض ابتكارات الإرشاد والتوجيه الافتراضي. يقدمها لكم في هذه الأثناء السيد هاميش مدان. Please, Mr. Hamish, the stage is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here. How's the energy level today? Right, warming up a little bit. So there's been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and well-being. I'm going to spend 10 or 15 minutes talking about how the acceleration of artificial intelligence will assist coaching and mentoring. And notice how I said the acceleration of artificial intelligence is going to help coaching and mentoring, not the adoption, because actually there are already AI-based coaches that are being adopted in the world. In the last 24 months, more than $1 billion has been spent on investing in technology startups focused on artificial intelligence for coaching. So this is not about adopting it, this is about acceleration of that. And I think the easiest way for me to think about that is not just the evolution, not just the acceleration, but also the evolution of this as well. How is artificial intelligence going to evolve in the application of coaching in the short term? And so I think the easiest way to think about this is for us to try and imagine a scenario where you are a director of a financial services organization, right? We're in the right room here. And you've been tasked with launching a new financial services product targeting 18 to 24-year-olds across the GCC. So that's what you've been tasked with. You have pulled together a team, a cross-functional team. You've got Fatima, who is head of marketing, a director of marketing. You have got Mohammed, who is the head of product innovation, and you have Nasser, who is head of finance. Okay. This project has been going on for 2 months. You meet every month, and in 6 months, you are meant to be launching this product. Now, you're about to have your second team meeting. You meet this team every month. Like all other projects, you have a day job as well. So this is in addition to the work that you do, like with everyone else. Does that sound real in our world today? You often get more and more to do. You're about to have your second team meeting, and you've heard rumors across the organization that there are some challenges with this project. You don't quite know what they are, but you know that you're hearing that there are some challenges around this project. So think about how would you go about getting ready for this meeting. 3 people, you don't interact with them too much, but it's critical that you work together, and ultimately you are accountable for the success of this project. Think about how you would prepare for this meeting. Okay. Now, what you don't know is that Fatima has been traveling quite a lot lately. And actually in the last 2 or 3 days, she's not had a lot of sleep. The previous panel talked about how sleep is important. Well, in the last 2 or 3 days, actually Fatima has not had a lot of sleep. So what happens, when you've not had a lot of sleep, you can potentially not be focused so clearly, right? But you don't know that. The other thing that you don't know is that Nasser, who was the finance director, he's a young, ambitious man, and he has come to this meeting fully prepared. He's done everything that he was expected to do. He's going to come to this meeting and he's going to shine. You don't know that, but that's what's in his mind. Okay? But what he's also done that you don't know is that the way he's gone about collecting the information and collaborating with others has been a little bit aggressive. You don't know that, but he's quite a forceful man. And so he has done things in a way that is starting to cause a few challenges in the organization. And the last person, Mohammed, what you don't know is that his job was to make sure that the whole organization is collaborating and is aligned around this. So his job was to make sure that there's some social acceptance about what you're trying to do. But he hasn't done it. He hasn't managed to connect people. He hasn't been connecting with other departments. And importantly, he hasn't also brought this team together and all the sub-people reporting into the team. He's not managed to bring them together. Now, you don't know that. Okay. Now, imagine that you did know that. Imagine that you knew that as you were coming into this meeting, that Fatima had not slept. Imagine that you knew that Nasser had caused a few issues with his style of communication and his style of working, and that Mohammed hadn't actually done the job of collaborating and bringing everyone together. Imagine that you knew that. So now my question to you is, how would you conduct that meeting? Would it be any different to not knowing that information? Okay? So, is this scenario of knowing that, is that some futuristic view of the world? Is it a sci-fi movie, right, where you know, or where you could know that information? What I'm going to go through is saying, well, actually, some of that technology to allow you to know that is available today. So what would you need to know? What would you need to know? Well, today, you would need to know some kind of way of measuring Fatima's sleep level. You'd need to know whether she slept or not, right? So, well, there's wearable technologies that allow you to do that. You'd need to have some way of looking at, with Mohammed, measuring his interactions with other people across the organization. You'd need to be able to measure that. Not just the interactions, the quality of the interactions, the frequency of those interactions, which department he has spoken to. You'd need to be able to measure that. You'd need to also, because remember, Nasser had been aggressive in his style of communication, you'd need to have some system that allows you to evaluate, measure and evaluate the language that he's using, the tone of voice that he's working on, the people that he's talking with, and is he listening? Is he just giving information out, or is he listening to understand? You'd need to have some way of measuring that. You'd also need to have some way of looking at people's reactions, right? Sometimes you can tell a lot from someone just from their facial reactions, just from the body language. You'd need to have some way of doing that. You'd need to have some way of getting all of this information, putting it all together, and giving you some insight, something that prompts you. You'd need to have some way of doing that as well. Okay. So, what's available today? There is a device. It's a wearable technology. You put it on your wrist. It's called Whoop. I don't know if anyone's heard of it or are using it. Whoop is a wearable technology. It measures your sleep. It measures your heart rate. It measures the strain that you're putting on your body. It measures whether you're recovering or not. And earlier on, we talked about, in the panel, about sleep deprivation. It measures the quality of your sleep. Now, sleep obviously is important. When you go to sleep, you close your eyes, your breathing slows down, your muscles start to react. It kicks off a load of chemical and biological reactions in your body that help you to rejuvenate and recover. Right? So there is a way of measuring all of that, and this device does that. Now, there's plenty of devices available in the market. This one is something called Whoop. It's meant to be non-intrusive, and if you've got an Apple phone, an iPhone, or a Samsung Galaxy Watch, they do similar things. The difference with Whoop is that at an organizational level, what this company does is provide aggregated reports for leadership. So what you can do with this technology is look at the average, the overall scores of stress levels, sleep levels, recovery levels of teams, functions, departments, sectors. And you can do it on a daily basis. You can look at trends over time. So can you imagine that if you have something like this implemented in wherever your organization you're working, and as part of your well-being score, we talked about well-being earlier on, as part of a well-being score, there's a way in which you can assess whether there are certain departments, potentially even individuals, function sectors, whose average stress levels or sleep levels are above or below the thresholds. And by the way, this device, there's around 500,000 subscribers. It costs $25 per month. And there is at least one government entity in the GCC that has provided that device to every single employee. And actually what they do track average levels of stress and sleep levels. And next year they'll be implementing a well-being KPI for their leaders. And if you don't believe me, I have on my phone a prompt that prompts me when one of my team members' stress levels is above the average of the last 14 days. Available today, right? Implemented across the organization. So that's available today. What else would you need? You'd need to know the level of collaboration and connections in the organization, right? So how do we do that? We measure the number of emails, the number of Teams calls that you're having with other departments, right? There's a way of measuring that. There's something called organizational network analysis, and simply what it does, it measures how many emails and meetings take place between individuals and between departments and functions. So in this diagram, the different colors would be the different departments, the individual dots would be individual people, and the lines are the connection. The thicker the line, the more communication is taking place. So what this is doing is measuring email communication flow between people. And when we talked about Mohammed not doing his job in terms of collaborating and aligning, actually what you can do is with this technology, you can do this at an enterprise level, okay? You can go one step further because you can also get a small device that you put around your neck, and it measures the proximity of people. So how close am I to other members of the team? Am I physically meeting with people? And you can create nodes for specific project teams that allow you to measure whether they're physically spending time together. It can go one step further because what these little devices do is that they do speech analysis. So in meetings that you have, what you can do is measure the words that are being used. Now they anonymize it. The words that are being used, the tone of voice that is being used, who is speaking. So in meetings, like I'm doing right now, is there one person that is taking up all of the airtime? And it can provide you with that information real time. So that's available today using organizational network analysis. How do you bring all of that information together? Right? Well, you could have prompts on your phone, but if you believe this guy, our friend Mark Zuckerberg, he thinks that actually you're going to wear glasses that will provide you all of that. Now, I wear glasses. I wouldn't quite wear those just yet. But you can see where the technology is going to be evolving, right? Where these things become invisible. And if you want to go one step further than that, and listen to what Elon Musk is saying, you can have a little chip implanted in your brain that is sending you these messages. Or if you want to do what an organization in Silicon Valley has done, they've put a little chip, it's voluntary, inside your wrist that is able to do this detection, proximity detection. You can use it to check in and out as well, okay? So the technology is there to do all of this, and artificial intelligence, what it can do is it brings all of this information together to provide you with prompts real time. So go back to my original question. If you had all of this information and it was all working seamlessly, would some kind of coaching prompts be helpful to you? Okay. Now, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Well, let's take a look at this. So the coaching industry, at the moment, the current projection was it's roughly a $5 billion business. The projection is that within 8 years, this is going to grow almost 3 times, right? It's going to grow to a $14 billion industry, the coaching industry. And there are many, many coaches, right? There's 150,000 certified coaches, probably many, many more that are not certified, because a lot of people can just claim that they're a coach. And we know that coaching is adopted by many, many organizations around the world, right? Now, why is that? Why is coaching adopted by many organizations? Because multiple research shows that coaching helps with goal achievement. The most recent study that was done last year took 1,000 students between 18 and 24. You were set 2 goals. One group had monthly 1-hour coaching sessions. Another group did not have monthly coaching conversations. And the evidence showed that when you have coaching once a month with a coach, you are more likely to achieve your goals. So there's strong evidence that coaching helps you achieve your goals. But what's the problem here? The problem is that coaching is a one-to-one conversation. I need to schedule a meeting with my coach. I need to attend that meeting. It's going to take an hour of my time. And we all know the reality is you can't book these things that far in advance. Schedules change. The logistics of changing all of this. And it's expensive. How do you scale that across an organization? I mean, you can pay anything from $300 an hour to $10,000 an hour for a good coach. How do you scale that across an organization? So we know that there's problems with coaching. And the other issue that we've got when we think about can AI replace coaching is that the other evidence is that one of the most important factors of a successful coaching engagement is the relationship between the coach and the coachee. Because it takes time. You have to build trust, you have to get to know each other, there's a lot of psychological safety that is involved. So we know that there's problems inherent with coaching and scaling this out. But do we believe that this is going to work? Do we think that you're going to have AI coaches? I'm going to leave that to you to decide, right? But I've given you evidence about the demand in the market, the technology changes. Do I think that is going to happen? Well, typically what I tend to do when I look at these kinds of things, and look at, is an industry going to be disrupted? Is it going to be disrupted? One, is there a clear problem? Is there a clear problem? In this case, there are. I've been in the coaching industry for more than 11 years. I know that there's 2 issues. One is the scalability of it, and 2 is the logistical side of it. Those are real problems that have not been solved yet. 2, is there a big enough market size for that? Well, yes, this industry is set to continue to grow over the next few years. There's evidence that it supports. And third thing I look at is that, is there a convergence of technologies? Are things going to converge that will allow you to create new solutions, new ways of doing things? And when I look at the coaching industry and I look at all these different technologies that I've just described, I've looked at the ability to artificial intelligence to consolidate all of that, decipher it, come up with insights, provide that to you in a language that you understand. All of these things are here. So in my humble opinion, I do think that coaching and mentoring is going to be significantly disrupted in the next few years. I do think that's going to be the case. And if you don't believe me, well, here's what Google have recently announced. So Google are developing an AI-based life coach. It's rumored to be launched within the next 12 months. Now, what difference does this make? So, for me, this is a game changer. One, the current coaching industry that you have, yes, everyone is investing, but these are relatively small organizations. Most recent one, there was a $200 million cash injection in a small startup. It's still relatively small. When Google enters something like this, with the teams of developers and the knowledge that they've got, this, for me, is a bit of a game changer. So, don't take my word for it. I do think this industry is going to be disrupted. I do believe that whilst it's not quite mature yet, I do think that artificial intelligence will have more and more of a role in learning and development, in continuous development, in coaching and mentoring, in helping people understand what their well-being is, and we talked about that earlier on. And the final thing I'll just leave you with is I think that the work that I'm doing across the world, a lot of organizations are investing millions of dollars into this in the same industry sector. And so I think, is there an opportunity, given the people that we've got and the CEOs that were sitting here, is there a way of consolidating efforts and being different to how every other country in the world is operating? Is there a way for, in the kingdom here, to consolidate effort, create teams that are going to look at this at a sector level or an industry level to see how we can help people learn and grow? Thank you very much. I appreciate the 10 minutes that I've had. I hope that was insightful.